Have you ever walked away from a conversation feeling uneasy, like something just wasn't right? Maybe you couldn't quite put your finger on it, but something felt off. Well, guess what? You might have just experienced subtle disrespect. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into a topic that's super important but often flies under the radar: how to spot disrespect in everyday conversations. Now, we're not talking about the obvious, in-your-face rudeness. We're talking about those sneaky, under-the-surface jabs that can leave you questioning whether you're being overly sensitive or if someone's actually crossing the line. But don't worry, by the end of this video, you'll be able to recognize these signs with ease. And trust me, once you do, you'll start seeing them everywhere. So, let's get into it. First up, we've got passive-aggressive comments. Now, these are tricky because they often sound like jokes or offhand remarks, but they carry a hidden sting. Imagine this. You're catching up with a friend, and they say, "Oh, you're finally on time for once." It sounds lighthearted, right? But it's actually a dig at your punctuality. The key here is to pay attention to how these comments make you feel. If you're left feeling a little uneasy or insulted, it's a red flag. People often use passive-aggressive comments as a way to express their frustrations or judgments without coming across as overtly rude. But just because it's subtle doesn't mean it's not harmful. Don't brush these off as harmless. Acknowledge them and consider if it's a pattern. Next, let's talk about interruptions. We've all been there. You're sharing a thought, and someone cuts you off mid-sentence. Annoying, right? But here's the thing. When this happens repeatedly, it's more than just annoying. It's a sign that the person doesn't value what you have to say. In some cases, they might not even realize they're doing it. But if you notice that certain people constantly talk over you or finish your sentences, it might be time to ask yourself if they respect your input. Interruptions disrupt the flow of conversation and send a clear message. What I have to say is more important than what you're saying. If this happens a lot, it's worth addressing, either by asserting your space in the conversation or by discussing it privately later. Sign number 3 is a big one: a condescending tone or attitude. You know that tone when someone says, "You probably wouldn't understand, but..." Yeah, that one. Condescension is when someone talks down to you, as if you're not on the same level as them. It's subtle but incredibly damaging because it can make you feel inferior or less knowledgeable. The worst part is that it can chip away at your self-esteem over time, making you doubt your abilities or intelligence. Don't let anyone make you feel like you're less than. If someone consistently talks to you this way, it's time to stand up for yourself and demand the respect you deserve. Now, let's talk about when your ideas or opinions get ignored. Picture this. You're in a meeting and you share an idea. But instead of getting feedback, the conversation just moves on like you didn't say anything. Sound familiar? Being ignored or dismissed without consideration is a major sign of disrespect. It suggests that the person doesn't value your input or doesn't see you as an equal participant in the conversation. It's easy to brush this off, especially if it happens in a group setting. But over time, this kind of treatment can make you feel invisible or unimportant. If you notice this happening, don't be afraid to speak up. Politely ask for feedback on your idea or reintroduce it to make sure it's heard. Backhanded compliments. These are the sneaky insults disguised as praise. They might sound like, "You look good today," for a change, or "Wow, you're actually pretty smart." The problem with backhanded compliments is that they leave you feeling confused. Are they praising you or insulting you? The truth is, it's both, and that's what makes them so harmful. If you receive a lot of these, it's a clear sign that the person doesn't fully respect or appreciate you. Instead, they're using compliments to subtly put you down. Don't let these slide. Call them out or set boundaries to protect your self-esteem. Number 6 is mocking or mimicking. This one's pretty straightforward. If someone mocks your words, actions, or even your voice, they're not just teasing you. They're trying to belittle you. While occasional teasing among friends can be harmless, repeated mocking is not. It's a way for someone to assert dominance or make you feel inferior. The best way to deal with this is to call it out directly. Let the person know that their behavior isn't funny or acceptable. If they continue, it might be time to reevaluate the relationship. Ever been in a group conversation where you just can't seem to get a word in? Or worse, where it feels like people are deliberately excluding you? That's a subtle but powerful form of disrespect. Exclusion can be intentional or unintentional, but either way, it makes you feel like an outsider. If this happens repeatedly, it's a sign that the group doesn't value your presence or contributions. Don't just fade into the background. Assert yourself by joining the conversation or bringing up this behavior later in a one-on-one setting. It's important to feel included and respected in any group dynamic. Let's move on to the subtle dismissal of your feelings. This happens when someone says things like, "You're overreacting," or "It's not that big of a deal." Sound familiar? When your feelings are dismissed, it's a way of invalidating your experience. The person is essentially saying that your emotions don't matter or aren't justified. This kind of dismissal can be incredibly damaging, especially if it happens frequently. It's important to stand your ground and assert that your feelings are valid. Don't let anyone make you feel like your emotions are irrelevant. Now, lack of eye contact. This one's more subtle, but still significant. If someone avoids looking at you during a conversation, especially if they're focusing on their phone or looking around the room, it can be a sign of disrespect. Lack of eye contact can indicate disinterest, distraction, or even discomfort. While it's not always intentional, it's worth noting if it happens consistently. If you feel like someone isn't giving you their full attention, try addressing it by asking if it's a good time to talk or if something else is on their mind. This way, you're showing that you notice and care about the quality of the interaction. Last but not least, let's talk about inconsistent or flaky behavior. This is when someone constantly cancels plans last minute or doesn't follow through on their promises. When someone is flaky, it can feel like they don't value your time or consider you a priority. While everyone has the occasional emergency, consistent flakiness is a sign that something's off. If you're dealing with someone who's constantly canceling or not following through, it's important to address it. Let them know how their behavior affects you and set clear expectations moving forward. So there you have it, 10 signs that someone might be disrespecting you, even in what seems like a normal conversation. Remember, recognizing these signs is the first step in standing up for yourself and demanding the respect you deserve. If you found this video helpful, make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you never miss another video. And drop a comment below. Have you ever experienced any of these signs of disrespect? How did you handle it? Let's talk about it in the comments.